Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today and thank you for your support. Well, I'm so excited today to be talking about another title in the Living Stereo series. This one is called Spain. It is LSC 2230, recorded in 1958 in Orchestra Hall, featuring Fritz Reiner conducting the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. This recording was produced by Richard Mohr and engineered by Layton, who produced many of the best recordings for RCA Living Stereo. This record's been a favorite with audiophiles, and I was determined to find out why. For years, I only had the original pressing, and my original pressing is not in the greatest shape. Let's take a look at this release, because it is so unique in the Living Stereo catalog. The original pressing looks like this. It is a hard gatefold jacket, and it has like a library spine like this, so like a taped spine in maroon with silver print on the edge. It also has a booklet inside, printed on like a watercolor type paper. It's a little hard to flip through here, but yeah, it's very beautiful. It looks like a very special release. RCA must have thought highly of it to give it this kind of treatment. My pressing is a 5S 1S Indianapolis pressing. We've talked about Indianapolis pressings before and how much I love the results from that pressing plant. Really, to me, there is no other if you're collecting RCA Living Stereo. And a lot of other collectors agree on that. The original pressing I have has been cleaned several times. I remember exactly where I found this record. It's funny how memories can attach to certain records. And in the 80s, like 1982 or 3, I found this record in Boston in a thrift, like a Goodwill thrift store down by Fenway Park. I remember going there and I remember pulling it out and looking at it and said, I've never seen this before. I was just starting to collect Living Stereo. I said, I have to have this, even if it's not perfect. And I've had it ever since. I can't believe it's still here. But yeah, that's the memory attached to this record. And also the memory attached to this record is I didn't think it sounded that great. Again, take my comments with a grain of salt on the original pressing, but you know, even cleaned up, and even with the sugar cube that I use on compromised recordings, it just doesn't have the best of what I think of when I think of a Living Stereo recording by the Mohr Layton team. Chicago, you know, the Chicago Orchestra Hall. It's not bad, but it has a kind of veiled sound to it. String tone is not really good. It's a little coarse in places. The record really doesn't come alive in the quiet moments at all. In the way that the best pressings are able to convey. Still, the music's intoxicating, and we'll talk about the music in a moment. The original pressing, if you have a clean 1S, maybe you have a really beautiful pressing. But I think this recording has a few issues. It's kind of a dichotomy. It has some issues in the strings and the brass, but on the other hand, it has some fantastic climaxes in glittering percussion and big, deep bass sounds. So it's an interesting record. I was curious to hear if anything else could bring out the best of it. And to that end, I have 3 other pressings of this record. So we'll talk more about those in depth. But I wanted to just let you know the type of music you're going to hear on here. We have Enrique Granados, Goyescas opens the record. A quieter cut, very pretty. Manuel de Falla, La Vida Breve, the intermezzo and dance, is following that. And then de Falla's Dances from the Three-Cornered Hat, which is very famous, of course. The second side is all moments from Iberia, Albéniz, Iberia. So there's Navarra, Fête à Seville, and Triana. So 3 cuts from Iberia. Most people don't think of Fritz Reiner as a natural for conducting Spanish music. We usually think of Argenta or de Burgos. However, he has done Spanish music before. If you've heard the Reiner sound, you know that. And he does a beautiful job on that one. This record, even though it's an audiophile favorite and it has lots of thrills, I don't consider the interpretation to be authentically Spanish. However, there's no doubt that it has a lot of things that will attract audiophiles for sure. This record was on the Absolute Sound Super Disc list in its original pressing, and I always wondered, why is it on there? When I got some of the other pressings, I realized why, and as I've listened to them in several weeks of listening to this record, yeah, I've been practicing, not practicing, but I've been auditioning 4 copies of this record over and over and over to make sure I'm describing everything as best I can. And I've really gotten used to the record and realized its attractive qualities, and I love it now. This is the second pressing that I picked up. I got this when it came out. This is the 150 gram Chesky pressing. Chesky had the license to do about 10 Living Stereo titles, I think. I have them all in the original 150 gram pressings. These were done, I believe, in Germany by Teldec. They were replaced at one point with 180 gram pressings, I believe from RTI. The 180 gram pressings are preferred because these 150 gram pressings are quite noisy, and there's like a high level of groove noise on them. Beyond that though, the sound of this one is, it's a tube cut. So let me see, Richard Edelman cut this. You might not recognize his name, but he was working with Chesky at the time. It's all analog from the original master tape, and it does have a lush kind of sound to it because of the tube mastering. The percussion and brilliant castanets and triangles and everything that come in the middle of this record and all through the second side really wake up this record. In the original, they're subdued. In this one, they're slightly more prominent and kind of break through. But the big climaxes in this record, which are thrilling, by the way, especially in like the last movement of Iberia and in La Vida Breve, it's a thrill to hear, and it's rendered pretty well on here, but you always feel like it's a bit constricted. Even though there's ample dynamic range, you feel like the climaxes aren't resolved completely. And I wondered if the Analogue Productions could do anything with this. So I picked it up recently. This is how Analogue Productions has presented this record. Very beautiful. It's a little darker than the original in terms of the photo. Just a bit more. It's on a glossy gatefold jacket. It really looks beautiful, of course. And instead of the booklet being inside, it's like this. This is cut by Ryan K. Smith from the original master tape. I believe it's a 3-track master tape and mixed down to 2. They have pulled out just about everything out of this tape and given us a clear, very glittering kind of sound. Not bright, not overly detailed, but much more detailed than the Chesky or the original. String tone is about the same on all these pressings. It's never the beautiful, silky sound that we get with the best Living Stereo pressings, but the power and dynamic range is much, much better on this record. things really come alive in the big moments, of course. The triangles, the percussion, the snare drum, the big bass drum, the weight is there on this pressing. And if you are into having a 33 RPM pressing of Spain, I can recommend the Analogue Productions for sure over the other two pressings. It offers a clear window onto this tape, and I think most people will be absolutely thrilled and intoxicated with what they hear on this. And I am too. I still feel like, and I thought about this the other day, there are certain living stereo recordings where it's so dynamic and so big at the end of the side that it really needs a 45 to open up. Pines of Rome is one of these. And I thought about it and I said, you know, I have the classic 45 of this. I haven't played it in years. Let me pull it out. I was thinking of, I've been thinking of selling my classic 45s because they take up a lot of space. They're on single-sided discs. This one's on 4 discs in 2 sleeves. So there's, you know, when you get a bunch of these classic 45s, they take up a lot of shelf space, and I'm running out of shelf space. However, every once in a while, I'll pull one of these out, and I'm like, oh my God, that's why I love some of these 45s. So some of them I think are essential, and I'm going to find out which ones before I make any rash decisions. Well, this one is cut at 45 RPM by Bernie Grundman. This was produced for Classic Records. This is the 180 gram original pressing. And I have to say, this pressing is the top of all of them. The Analogue Productions comes very close, but it just can't manage to open up the way Bernie has done this on this 45. When you look at the sides, it's incredible. I mean, it's like there's so much space, you know, and everything is kept to the outer edge. So you never have anything running into the end of the side. And as a result, the big moments in the three-cornered hat, in La Vida Breve and Iberia, oh my God, they just open up. Huge, huge sound. And it's so much fun to listen to. The tape hiss is very quiet. The bass drum shakes the room. And the percussion is so vivid. You can hear the person playing the castanets and the triangles and everything in space. It's holographic. It's wonderful. The 45 is really special. The Analogue Productions comes right behind it. If you are not interested in trying to dig around for a 45 and pay the money for it, really the Analogue Productions is the best 33. However, if you do have this 45 of Spain, you have a fabulous record. I can tell you that immediately. It doesn't have any of that brightness that we sometimes associate with the classic records. It's just beautiful. Just beautiful. It's intoxicating. You'll love the sweep of the music, the exotic feeling, beautiful woodwinds. Even the strings sound good on the 45 here. It doesn't get overly bright, but it has huge dynamic range, and it allows this music to breathe. And I think that the 45 is the king. However, if you are interested in this record, you might want to investigate a 1S and see what it offers. I may be able to acquire one at some point and let you know. But the Analogue Productions is a real beauty, absolutely. And if you have the Chesky, I think you can do better with this one. So those are my thoughts on Spain. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.